after that, it was just completely inside the story. It all disappeared, and I was there with the characters and not with John, which was really what's the word?
Fun?
No. Relieving. I was relieved. And it was great. But then at the end, I was like, wow, John did that, and I was very pleased and happy, and wanted to do everything I could to make sure the most people possible read it. And so this is one of those things. Thank you all for coming. And the other thing that I will say is that it's a great gift for the holiday season.
Thanks, Hank. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, a lot of nice things have happened for Paper Towns since it came out that never happened for my previous two novels, and that is entirely thanks to you and to the community that has grown up around our video blogs and that works so hard to make the world better in so many different ways. And for some reason, you guys also decided to make my world better, which I really appreciate. And I'm so grateful for the wonderful response that Paper Towns has had critically, and then also that you guys seem to like it, or at least that if you don't like it, you're being quiet about it, which is just as nice. So I want to talk a little bit about it, and then I want to read a little bit from it, and then we'll take your questions about books and reading and writing. Paper Towns is about this girl, Margot Ross Spiegelman. There's actually two covers. I'm sure someone will hold up the other cover if I wait 3 seconds. It happens. There's this yellow cover. Both of the covers are ways that this young woman, Margot Ross Spiegelman, is imagined by the people around her, and they're both kind of fundamentally incorrect. Margot is neither this emo girl with dirt inexplicably on her face, nor is she this smiling hot girl from the yearbook photo that we see, the blown-up yearbook photo that we see in the yellow cover. But she is seen in her high school, Winter Park High School in Orlando, Florida, where Hank went and I went for a year. She is seen at that high school as the coolest thing that's ever happened. Like, every awesome thing that's ever happened in Winter Park High School is due to Margot Ross Spiegelman. Can you hear me, by the way? I was just starting to dislike using the mic. So what happens is that Margot's next door neighbor is this kid, Hugh, who's like a band geek who's not even in the band. And Margot shows up at his window one night after basically not talking to him for 10 years and takes him on this crazy all-night adventure through the streets of Orlando, Florida. And that culminates with them breaking into SeaWorld, as those of you who've read the book know. The whole, by the way, that's super easy to do, but I don't think that you should do it. The whole night, Hugh thinks that tomorrow, he and Margot are going to have a relationship, whether that's a friendship or whether they're going to be boyfriend-girlfriend, he doesn't know, but he thinks that there's going to be like a blossoming thing, that Hugh has finally been chosen by Margot. Now, what is in fact happening is that Hugh is completely reading every single thing wrong, and what Margot is clearly really doing is saying goodbye to Orlando and to her life there. And the next day, he wakes up, goes to school, and she has disappeared. The rest of the book, she seems to have left behind clues to her fate specifically for him in her copy of Walt Whitman's Songs Myself. And the rest of the book is Q trying to uncover what has become of Margot. And what makes this so hard, not only for Q, but for all the characters in the book, is not so much that the question is a difficult one to answer, or that there's something inherently complicated about the mystery. What makes it so hard is that they don't see Margot. It's hard for them to understand Margot as like a complex person, as something other than just awesome, or just emo, or just cool, or just selfish. They can't see her as a whole person. And really the whole book is about people who fail to imagine one another complexly. And I think that that's a huge problem, whether we're dehumanizing people. Like when we think about, I was thinking today about my dog. I have a puppy. His name is Willie. He's a cute little man. He's a West Highland Terrier. He weighs about 9 pounds right now, but he's still putting on some weight. And he's very sweet. He pees a lot in the house. But he's been a little sick. He's going to be fine, but he's had too much bacteria in his poop, as I'm sure he'd be delighted to hear me tell you. We had to pay like, I don't know, $350 or something to Willie to get the proper tests done, and then he has to take some antibiotics, and he's got to be on. You don't care about this. Anyway, the point is that making Willie better costs $350. $350 could also buy 35 treated mosquito nets in Bangladesh that would literally result in people who would otherwise die not dying. Literally. I don't think twice about spending $350 on Willie, who is a 9-pound dog who will never reach any kind of sentience. Maybe, but probably not. So, like, why is it that I'm willing to do that for Willie without even like thinking about it twice? It's a matter of closeness. Willie lives in my house with me. He's part of my family. He's not a human part of it, but he's part of my family in my head. And I imagine Willie ultimately, more complexly, and as like more of a person who is my responsibility than I think of people who live in poverty in the developing world. And there's something kind of like normal and acceptable about that, but there's also something that's kind of horrendous about it. And Paper Towns is about both sides, hopefully, both that which is normal and acceptable about it. Look, we cannot feel the pain of others as intensely as we feel our own pain, or we would be like big, giant, gaping holes of suck. Like every time someone else's grandmother dies, you can't be as upset as you are when your own grandmother dies, because 155,000 people are going to die today. And if you felt the loss, I know, bummer. If you felt the loss of all 155,000 people, it would tear you apart, and you would be unable to like wake up in the morning and go to the Racine Public Library and like attend this event, and that would suck for me. So, not that it's all about me. So it's normal, obviously, to have a limit to one's empathy, but we still have this responsibility to empathize. We still have this responsibility to try to think of other people complexly, which is something that nerdfighters and nerds know very well, because so often we are not imagined complexly by those around us, and we are dismissed, and we are dehumanized, and we are pushed aside as being merely lame, or merely this, or merely that. This book is an argument against approaching life that way. But it's also an argument against approaching life in a way where you imagine people as being more than human, as being like more awesome, as being yellow-covered Margos, you know? So those of you who've read the book know that it's kind of literally about the relationship between the world we draw and the world that really exists, and the way that when you change the world we draw or the world we map, it changes the world that really exists. Not in like a secrety Oprah way, but in like in some ways, like I'm not arguing that you can think your way out of heart disease or something, but I do think that the way we imagine the world affects the way we understand the world, and in some ways can actually shape the physical world. Like someone had to imagine this building with that view before they could see this view. They had to know it was going to be a good view with this kind of windows on the second floor before there was ever a second floor to this building. That's the kind of stuff that I was thinking about when I was writing Paper Towns. I was also thinking about how we have to think more complexly about public figures like Santa. The two things that you have to know before I read this, or the only thing you have to know really, is that this kid Q has two best friends. Ben, who believes that the surest path to a girl's heart is to call her a honey bunny, and Radar, who is a semi-professional editor of a website that's identical to Wikipedia. Radar has a date to prom, which is surprising, as any Wikipedia editor will tell you. So Ben and Q are meeting Radar's girlfriend for the first time.